Hello, beautifuls. Welcome back to Women, Wine and Wisdom. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Naomi.
And today we're going to be dropping a short clip on something called ajo.
Yes, we are. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so the English term for ajo, because obviously that's the Yoruba term, is called joint. That's what it means directly translated. But Naomi knows what it means in actual English.
People know it either as partner, triangle, or a syndicate. And so, like, I don't know. So many people know it by different terms, but we know it as ajo because we are Nigerian natives. But yeah, like Jimmy said, it's all about just a contribution. It's about creating a syndicate. And so generally speaking, how it works is, let's say there's 5 of you, each person agrees to contribute £100. And if there's 5 of you and you started in January, then it will take you up to May. So it will be every month, one person, like each of the participants will contribute £100, and it gets paid into the different people's accounts. Yeah. So for example, if me and Jimmy were doing it over a 2-month span, then I might be January, she's February, and we both agreed to contribute £100 each. So in January, she'll pay the £100 to me, and in February, I'll pay my £100 to her. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's basically... Does that explain it? Works.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much explains it. It's normally done over a longer period than 5 months, and it's normally done with higher values of money. So I think one of the key things is I've been doing it since 2014. You've also been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah. Not too long. I probably started in when did I start? I think 2020. Yeah, not too long. I'm new to the game, but I knew about it. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to enter it, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing it since 2014, and since then I've done quite a few things with it. So I'm going to just jump into the benefits. So some of the benefits is you receive a large sum of money in one. Yeah. So you can normally do it with £500 or £1,000. So obviously, if you do it it's normally done over a 10-month span to give people a break. Yeah. So if you do £1,000, you get 10k, and if you do it in £500, you get half of the 10k, so you get 5. Yeah. And some of the benefits for me have been the large sum of money in one, which means I've been able to pay, for example, lawyer fees. I've also been able to extend my lease extension on my property. I've also been able to use it to buy a car. So different people use it for different things. Yeah. One thing I would say though is you really have to trust the people that you're working with.
100%.
Because again, if there's 10 of you, sometimes it might be a rainy month. And what happens when you haven't got that money to give? Yeah. So you got to trust the people that you're working with. It's a way of saving, but without interest, which again is actually kind of a negative.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's one of my cons. I feel like one of the downsides to it, unfortunately, is that you don't actually get any interest on top of your savings. Yeah. So if you're doing it over a 10-month period, if you actually invested that money in stocks, you'd probably get higher returns. But doing it this way, there is no interest on it at all. It is just what the amount is. Like, so whatever the agreed amount is, that's what you're getting.
But my argument would be the likelihood of you saving that large sum is very slim.
No, of course. Yeah. I think one of the benefits for me is that you can, someone who likes to, if you're the type of person, kind of like me, who will have your savings, but you'll be like, let me just dip into it just a little bit to buy suya.
I think that's all of us. I think that's all of us.
Not to buy suya, but
I would buy suya, but yeah.
But ultimately, if you feel like you're the type of person that would always like to dip into your savings, doing something like ajo holds you accountable to saving your money because you've agreed and you're committed to a syndicate. And so you don't want to be that person that everyone's like, look at this person who cannot commit or cannot do what they said they're going to do. So it holds you accountable to that money. So then when that money comes to you, that's your lump sum. You've seen that savings and hopefully it will make you not want to touch it and dip into it because you've been able to save this lump sum of money.
So there's a pro to that and a con to that. I feel like the pro is that it holds you accountable because a lot of the time we won't save that money by ourselves. Yeah. When it's given to somebody else, it's one of those ones where it's like, I can't see it, so I can't touch it. Yeah. Whereas when you can see, you can touch it. However, the con to that is
if you get paid earlier.
If you get paid, it depends. Because, for example, let's say you want to buy a property and you want to close in February. Being paid early is a good thing. Yeah. Whereas if you want to save for a property, for example, being paid last might be a good thing. Yeah. So it depends on where you're at, what stage you're at. But one thing I think is a con of that is you can't shame the shameless. Some people don't have shame. So like you really have to trust the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And that brings me to, do you then like, how do you think it works if you work with just your friends or just your family? Is there a particular way you would rather do it?
I think working with friends and family is a good way to do it. I think ultimately you want to be able to know the people you're working with. Like with Agile, I feel like there are 4 main principles to it. And the 4 main principles are know the people you're working with.
Big facts. Big facts.
I would prefer to work with people I know, and that usually would be friends and family, because I think you can at least, you know who you're dealing with. You know whether or not that person can probably pay.
I agree.
Or like where they're at in life.
But
and then
what about if your friend is unreliable? Or family member, because it happens.
But then I just wouldn't get into a syndicate with them. But I think, like, for me, the 4 main principles would be know the people you're getting involved with, trust the people you're getting involved with, make sure they're people that are trustworthy, so they're not people who you just think, oh, I'm just going to add you to this syndicate because I feel like I need an extra person in here to, get a larger lump sum.
Yeah.
No, definitely make sure you do your research and know that the people you're working with are trustworthy.
Yeah, and sorry, just to follow on from that, but just if they are not trustworthy, it's better to have an 8-month or a 9-month syndicate than having a 10-month one with somebody who's not going to be able to fulfill that.
No, 100%. 100%. I totally agree with that. And then also you need to be committed. You need to be working with people that are committed to the journey. Because if I was the first one to get paid, for example, by month 9, I might be like, oh, am I still paying out? So, you want to be able to work with people who are definitely committed, who are not going to stray away from paying every month and being, on that journey with you. And then lastly, recycle the cycle. So basically what that means is if you do go again, because what happens is it tends to be something that happens on a yearly basis. So you do it 1 year and then you're probably going to do it the following year.
I mean, I've done it ever since then. So yeah.
So like you want to be able to allow people to be in different positions. So if somebody went last the last time, maybe allow them to go first the next time if they want to. Yeah. You want to give them the opportunity to be able to be in, at different positions to collect so that they're just not always at the end. So yeah, those are my main 4 principles, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And what are some of the things you've used it for?
For furniture. When I bought my property, I definitely used it for to help me buying furniture. So I wasn't like having to do it on a credit card or having to do Klarna or anything like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things, but ultimately it just allowed me to pay for things up front, and then I wasn't left with the baggage after just buying a property. What about you?
I've done lawyer fees.
Actually, you mentioned
lawyer fees. I've done a car. Property. And those are the kind of things I've actually used it for. So for me, it's a very quick way and a very easy way to save. So like you said earlier, if I see it, I'm going to dip. I'm going to dip.
Yeah.
But when I can't see it, so I normally like to be like the last person to collect or the middle person, depending on my goals for
situation.
That year.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah.
I definitely think, generally speaking, I think it's a very good way of saving, especially if you're somebody who, as we've just mentioned, if you like to dip, it's definitely a good way to save. So I would encourage people to do it. If you are somebody who dips into your savings regularly, use this method, see how you go. Maybe just start with a small group. Maybe start with just 4 of you, 5 of you, and see how that works for you. If you have bigger goals, like Jimmy has mentioned, if you're in the process of trying to buy a property, or you need to pay legal fees or anything like that, or you're trying to get yourself out of debt, for example, then this is a really good way and tool of being accountable to your money and not dipping into it and not touching it. So by the end of a certain period, what you're going to get. So for me, I would give it a thumbs up as a good saving tip.
That's our wrap up. Hopefully you enjoy our saving tip on Agile.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a money series and we'll be dropping little gems here and there for you.
Gems.
So enjoy.
Cheers.